At the end of the day, a leader, a president, a politician, whatever you are, it's based on policy. So if you can show me policy that affects or that you can call racism, then I'll agree. But up to this point, I have yet to see anything that he's put into law that affects black people negatively.
Eyes wide shut.
No, I need to take 5. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. Don't forget to give the video a like. And yes, that includes even y'all watching on television, although you might need a phone for that. This is Who Raised Y'all, and I am Reese Waters. This is where we acknowledge those unique individuals going above and beyond to make society worse.
How are we defining racism? Once again,
You know, the kinds of people you'll see asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates.
I want to talk to the manager.
Now, frequent viewers to the channel know how much I enjoy the Isiah Factor.
Asked the bilingual sisters to come.
Gotta put that out there.
Yes, we serve mankind. And so I was working the phone bank, the Spanish blind. They were calling in, getting information about where to vote. And this little lady called, and once I gave her the information, she asked me in Spanish if the Channel 2 was hiring. I said, I don't know, but I'll find a number. What do you do? And she said, I clean houses, and I really need a job because all the N-words are taking all the jobs.
This man been airing out more racist than a Minnesota mom GoFundMe.
Your thoughts about Latinos supporting President-elect Donald Trump?
So sadly, I say, I don't understand, but self-hate is real.
So naturally, after Van Jones's expose on Black Maga, I had to let Isiah Factor get a chance to speak his piece. This gonna be crazy.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for The Factor Uncensored tonight. First up, our focus turned to black conservatives who support President Trump. This is an issue that's ripped from the pages of Nation.com, an article there. Some have accused President Trump of racism on multiple occasions. Last year, he said black voters are drawn to him because of his criminal indictments and mugshot, a statement some have called racist, while black conservative supporters not speaking out, according to critics, is an issue. Is there any truth to black conservatives being at peace with this so-called racism? Or is this the answer more complex? Joining us to talk about it here on The Factor Uncensored tonight, members of the Urban Conservatives of America.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. This how we gonna start? This is really... I'm gonna have to slow cook this one. I'm gonna have to slow cook because I can't start too hot. I can't start too hot. But by the way, and that was a great open by Isiah. But if you want just a taste, just a dabbling of the level of racism we have seen at display thus far, Garrison Hayes has a whole video called Trump's First 100 Days, but it's just the racism. Yeah.
4 years, people have been debating about whether or not Donald Trump is a racist. And truthfully, I don't care. I don't care if Trump is a bigot on a heart level. I don't care whether or not he holds racist views. I don't care whether or not he uses the N-word. What I care about is power, policy, and practice. And over the last 100 days, Donald Trump has used his power to create policies and practices with a very clear racial agenda. A racial agenda that is far more clear than his economic agenda or his foreign policy agenda. Donald Trump's first 100 days have been defined by bigotry, and I want to look back on a few of those days.
And it's over 18 minutes long. Go ahead.
Joining us to talk about it here on The Factor Uncensored tonight, members of the Urban Conservatives of America, Rael Williams, Alexandra Butler, the group's founder, Jonathan McCullough, and former president of NAACP, Brazoria County, Eugene Howard, who's not a member of the group, and you'll soon see. But let's begin with you guys. For those who say there's a lot of racism that you have to stomach as a black conservative supporting President Trump, what would you say to that?
Personally, I would say that I've ignored a lot of racism from the left.
I'm sorry, that wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. That wasn't it at all. No, you are not Scott Jennings, and this is not CNN. You don't just deflect the question that was asked about you ignoring racism from Trump and the right wing. I will receive any further deflection as an admission that that is in fact the case. Go on.
When Joe Biden said that he said poor people are just as bright and talented as white people, that's a racist comment. There's types of racism that seem to go ignored and unnoticed by the left and the right, but it's the racism of low expectations that I can't ignore. And so that's why I brought that up first, is because the racism that they want us to overlook is the racism coming from the left.
I believe the man who's currently in office referred to low-income jobs as black jobs. And you want to talk about the racism of low expectations? I believe the man has rooted out all manner of color under the guise of DEI and thinks they'll be fine. And you want to talk about because if we called y'all uneducated, right? If we called y'all uneducated, then y'all would be mad. But you want to come on television and disavow actual policy put in place by the man in the White House for comments that the last president made, irregardless of any actual policy. Okay.
All right, let's go down the line, sir, Mr. McCullough.
Yes. Racism to me is not what someone says, it's what they do. And I think this is what makes us different from the left, because we're not watching, what people is saying. We're watching what they're doing.
What did he do? What did he do? Pushing the anti-DEI legislation and reaffirming that the only racism was anti-white racism. That was elevating their cases above other people's cases in our judicial system, or removing the Civil Rights Division from the Department of Justice, freezing their cases. Is that what you want to talk about, what they do? He just got rid of the Minority Business Development Agency. Yeah. Tim Scott ain't been seen in public in weeks. Last time he was crying into some ice cream. You want to talk about what they do? You want me to keep going?
At the end of the day, a leader, a president, a politician, whatever you are, it's based on policy. So if you can show me policy that affects or that you can call racism, then I'll agree. But up to this point, I have yet to see anything that he's put into law that affects black people negatively.
Eyes wide shut.
No, I need to take 5. Somebody clean him up. I need to take 5.
On days 1 through 7, he issued several executive orders designed to deem inclusion illegal, setting off a countrywide scramble to undo diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments, or face penalty from the federal government. On day 11, he blamed a DC plane crash on DEI.
They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program.
Around day 70, he purged 381 books from the Naval Academy's library, a significant number of them written by black authors.
And this is after you pass the point where you disavow any connection between the feelings and the sentiment that he communicates towards black people with his approach to policy. I made this point in the Van Jones video, where the gentleman said it's a slap in the face, but I'm really more focused on how I can continue to raise my children. As if the slap in the face doesn't affect how he feels about you and your children.
All right. Mr. Williams, Ultra MAGA. What you got?
Ultra MAGA. Trump has been great for black people. If you look at the statistics, black unemployment was at the highest rates when he was in office.
Yeah, just go ahead and get him off it. Just go ahead and get him. I mean, really, for him to be saying that in May, you know what I mean? He's saying that in May. Even Byron Donalds and Tim Scott, who could not stop repeating that lie up until the election, have given that up. We still saying that in May? Is this man's television and phone on a 6-month delay? I need to understand why he would come on Does he think we on Trump 45? Actually, if we're being honest, if you look at how he has chosen to present himself on Isiah Factor, I think there might be some credence to a years-long delay.
You go down and you look at, he just declassified the MLK files, something Barack Obama didn't do when he was in office.
Of course not.
I'm not going to be able to make it through this. We saw them declassify the MLK files. Why did he do that? Why did he declassify the MLK files, and what was it that was illuminated when he declassified the MLK files? And why wouldn't Barack Obama have done that? You know what I mean? I am coming to the conclusion that it is pointless to interface with these people. Like, you know what I mean? Like Isiah, why would you bring, you know what I mean? Like,
So
Go ahead,
I mean, you people are saying he's racist, but he's doing things that presidents that were of color didn't even do.
That's right.
I mean, hold on, wait, let me finish.
It's only been one, don't say it.
that was actually a good, yeah, there's been one. There's probably all these presidents let me tell you, Trump did stuff that even the president of BET didn't do. You know what I mean? The president of the NAACP and Essence and Uncle Ben's Rice and Aunt Jemima didn't do what he did.
So again, Trump is the man. I support him hands down because what he's done for black people is literally like you can't compare it to anything.
Now, they always say, you know, try and find points of commonality. You know, my mother's on me to be nicer, trying to find points of commonality. I'll give him that one. I will give you that point. The things that he has done to and for black people, you can't compare to anything. I'll give you that. You got that. Actually, that's actually not true because a lot of what he's doing is a sloppier, more direct version of what Nixon and then later Reagan were trying to achieve with their Southern strategy. I guess I got to take that one off the board.
Before we get to Eugene, let me ask you this question, the crux of that interview, that article. Do you see racism in the conservative movement that you're a part of? Obviously, you've already said you see it everywhere, but do you see it in the organization? No, either of you?
Well, here's the thing. How are we defining racism?
Well, wait a minute. When you say racism, is it racism with a hard M? You know what I mean? I don't feel hard M racism. You know what I mean? And is it racism that stick to your ribs or just a racism that just pass right through you? You know what I mean? You really gotta classify. You know what I mean? Does a racism have to come from this direction, or you including this direction as well? Like, you know what I mean? How do I need to hear it is this surround sound racism? You know, you really gotta be more specific about the racism that you're talking about here. My man done experienced so much racism, he got himself a camouflage Trump hat, so hopefully people don't see him. And he want me to disavow that he's experienced racism? Yeah.
How are we defining racism? Once again, I mean, if we're going to define racism and get...
Okay, really, you know what racism is. So just tell me if you have seen it, if you experienced.
I know what racism is, but I can't speak for everybody else.
Well, let me say something.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Alexandra.
so when somebody on the left sees me, a black woman, and just assumes I'm poor or ignorant, or they're like, "Oh my goodness, you speak so well," they're so shocked about that. Why are they shocked about it? That is racism. I overlook that a lot because I'm saying they don't know any better. That happens to me a lot from people on the left.
Hey, Isiah. Yeah, Isiah. She don't know her left from her right. She don't know her left from her right. Last time she spoke, she said the exact same thing and talk about the left. So what we need, is Miss Rachel, is she broadcast down there? Because she does a really good job teaching people like their hand, like above and below, left and right and whatnot. Hook her up with Miss Rachel. So you just to help her out. It's probably more than I should do for her, but each one teach one.
They think that they're my ally. I need their hand. I need them to come in and save me. And I don't. I need God. I don't need them. They're not my Messiah or my Savior. So Malcolm X said it best. You know, the liberal is the enemy of the black man. And we can see it right clearly before our eyes. They look at us like we're scum. They look at us like we're poor. And black people are falling for the okie doke, and they're saying, oh, the white man is better than us. He's supreme over us. That's what white supremacy is. Right. I don't believe anybody is superior over me. I don't live my life that way. So I just live according to freedom and liberty.
Okay, now you evoke God a great number of times. So I would love for you to send me an essay just outlining the godliness of the Trump administration and the MAGA movement. 5 sentences. If you could just give me 5 sentences, that would be phenomenal. As far as you talking about freedom and liberty, you mean the fact that due process is now on the table? You mean that kind of freedom and liberty? The fact that they want to reserve the right to deport American citizens? You talking about that kind of freedom and liberty? They in your bedroom, they in your office, because don't be practicing diversity. They're in your cars, apparently, because they want to force people to buy Tesla. Is that the freedom and liberty? That's the freedom and liberty that you're talking about right now? And that was a great reference to Malcolm X that you just gave, and the comments that he made about the liberal. I would love to know how he would feel about this administration. And I that is something that your brain will not allow you to wrestle with, so you can continue to go with that anecdote. And yes, I understand that. But at the end of the day, I will present you with the question, since you don't praise anybody and you don't elevate anybody or anything like that. I would love for you to answer the same question that I presented during the Van Jones video. What would he have to do for you to disavow him? Or moreover, what kind of racism would you have to experience from the right wing for you to actually acknowledge the question that's being asked without pivoting to the left?
All right, let's hear from Eugene.
Please, man, I've been in this twilight zone. Like, I've been patiently over here at the tail dog position. So first of all, if you can't see the racism, your eyes are just closed. You said it's not about what people say about policy. So let's just run it down real quick. They removed the Harriet Tubman from the National Archives. So, I mean, Harriet was what? I'm sorry, the Trump administration. I'm going to be very clear.
But they didn't.
I'm sorry, they did, and
You're
because
wrong.
of that. No.
Okay,
I let them speak.
Hold on, real quick, guys. Let him go, and then you. We have 2 segments.
Thank you. They removed it, and then they had to put it back after backlash. The same thing they did with the Tuskegee Airmen. They removed that and had to put that back. Trump is literally trying to dismantle Black America. They literally had an executive order to the Smithsonian that did not want to fund African American Cultural Museum because they feel like that's anti-racism or that's reverse racism. Now, as we sit here, we have to be intellectually honest because you guys are being intellectually dishonest. If you can't sit here and tell us, if you can, everyone's watching on TV. Don't take my word for it.
You've lied.
On TV, you see it yourself. Listen, I'm reading for myself. All I've heard about the left this, the left this. What about this? Last time I checked, the Trump administration is the one cutting the Medicaid, cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare. They're the ones that's cutting education. Last time I checked Joe Biden, you talked about unemployment. Was the laws under Donald Trump? My guy. Joe Biden had the lowest unemployment. Like you guys want to forget about that.
You voted for Joe Biden.
I mean, you can cherry pick that. You can cherry pick whatever you want, just like Trump said. Just like Trump said, if you're a felon, you like
Eugene. Let's hear from Mr. McCullough.
Well, basically, he's proving the point. He started talking about the
policies.
No, you didn't.
Policies. That's what I started talking about.
Let me talk.
Policies.
You started. His whole conversation was
policies.
About statues and Harriet and this, that, and the third in Washington, D.C.
Policies.
What does that have to do with the price of gas? Nothing.
Now that was a hot ass mess. That was a hot ass mess. I sat there and waited to get something that resembled intellectual thought and response from the black conservatives there. And I finally did get it, where he said, what does that have to do with the price of gas? But that came after she tried to deny actual, like, it's one thing for you to say, well, this is why it was removed, or it was a mistake. It's one thing for you to say it wasn't removed while he reaffirms, the dude with the Ultra MAGA hat reaffirms that it had the lowest unemployment, tells me that you have so subscribed to misinformation, and old misinformation at that. This is like the old misinformation textbooks that they used to give you in public school. Like, you still reading debunked hypotheses. That's what y'all are, and then had the nerve to come on TV with it. Like, they don't even go with that no more. They don't even go with that no more. But here y'all are coming on television trying to say stuff that they already have acknowledged didn't happen. Who do you think you are, Pete Hegseth? And here he comes in talking about, well, it's the lowest like a no. I swear. I swear. And the problem is, with the elimination of the Department of Education, I don't know how this gets better. I really don't. I have no idea how this gets better. But to the point that the gentleman made, where he talked about what does that have to do with the price of gas, would that have to be gas in this economy that all of a sudden Trump feels like would be okay to be dealing with some short-term pain because of his tariffs? Would that be it? Would this be the stock market that he's still calling Biden's stock market, and the economy he's still calling Biden's economy? Is that what you're talking about? You mean the economy that people swore that they voted for him based on, that he no longer wants to acknowledge or take credit for or believe is any reflection on his policy whatsoever? That kind of economy and that kind of gas? That's what you're talking about? But I will at least give him this. At least he's trying to make an intellectual argument. At least he is somebody who has consumed new information this year. And now I see why he has the camouflage hat, because I don't think he wanted the two on the side of him to see him either. I at least will give him that.
What does that have to do with, what does the price of gas have to do with being black?
What I'm saying.
What does the price of gas have to do with being black?
Listen. Being black is not my choice.
Well, we can all agree with that. We can all agree with that. And I don't know if you said being black is not by choice or it's not my choice, but my response to you is absolutely.
One thing that I don't do, once again, I could care less about what people says or what someone else's interpretation about what they said. I'm a free thinker. I process it, I listen to it, and I watch. If Donald Trump is the problem, why do our communities look the way they look? Explain that to me. How? How is that possible? How is it possible?
I mean, it's a system.
Answer that question. Whose system?
Is
it Donald Trump's system?
It's called systemic issues, brother. It's more than one.
Oh, so it's not Trump, it's systemic.
Okay, all right. So I see you subscribe to the why not try it? You subscribe to the what do you have to lose faction of Black Maga, which is all well and good in terms of if we want to engage a conversation about how we improve our communities. But to what the gentleman in the black said, if we want to be intellectually honest about the things that we need in order to improve our community, you tell me how the eradication of the Department of Education and elimination of any program that specifies helping specifically black people or women or any other disenfranchised groups helps our community not look the way it looks.
Bro, just don't try to change the subject because
What do
you
you
don't
mean?
want to be
No,
down
I'm trying
with
to
Trump.
remain on the subject.
I'm willing to say there's
respond to-
systemic issues, there's systemic problems in this country. There has been since 1619, since we got here, bro. So if you want to talk about that, we can talk about why our housing look like they do. Or if you want to talk about slavery,
I got a question.
Jim Crow,
I got a question.
segregation, we can
I got
go
a
down
question.
the list, bro.
I got a question.
So,
Okay,
like,
one at a
we
time,
have to
real
be
quick.
intellectually honest,
Okay,
dog.
let's be intellectually honest. Let me tell you something. The black community is the most dangerous place in the world for a black man. So if we want to be
Oh my God.
intellectually honest,
That's true.
am I right or wrong?
You're wrong.
Who are most white people attacked and unalived by? And specifically, because I know you didn't want to engage with anything that he said, let's talk about poor white communities. Who is responsible for the crime in those communities? I'll wait.
And Mr. McCullough,
That's
for
not
those who are
reality.
wondering what you're talking, explain that.
Well, it's dangerous. Let's
How?
just be real. Listen, the violent culture in the black community will not be addressed by black people because we're too busy worried about white supremacy, right? The safest place is the white community. Keep it 100.
Yeah.
Keep it 100.
Now, here's my question. Is the safest community a white community because it's white? Or is a safer community a white community because what you did, you just called it a white community. I don't know that the trailer park is any safer than the hood. I believe what you were referring to is the suburbs. I believe you're referring to an affluent gated community, something like that. Is it safer because of the money involved, or is it safer because they're white? Because I don't know a whole lot of crime going on in these gated black communities, and yes, they do exist. Are they safer because of the money, or are they safer because they're white? Be careful, because I can hit you with whatever response you choose.
He keeps saying we got to be intellectually
But he can't.
honest, but you have to first be an intellectual to be honest.
Let's just end the segment. Yeah, let's just. I'm not going to go there with that. What I will say that Isiah Factor, I'm mad. Is he the only brother who could stand to sit on stage with the black conservatives? Is that what it is? You just went all around Houston. You hanging outside the Rockets playoff games. You going to Paul Wall's shop trying to find some people that would sit on stage with the black conservatives, and you could only find one. That is the only way to excuse this 3-on-1 misinformation jumping that's going on right now. They hitting him with batons of nonsense and lies. And just because he's one human being doesn't have the wherewithal to defend him. But it looks how it looks, Isiah. We see how it looks. Quite frankly, this freeze frame right now of the black conservatives is exactly how it looks. That is just zoom in on the black conservatives. That is exactly how this looks, Isiah. Do with that what you will.
Oh,
Take a
excuse me.
jab.
We're
Hold on,
seeing,
no, no, no,
yeah,
no.
I
Hold
did.
on, don't say
We're
something.
seeing,
Let Alexander
we're seeing
finish.
weaponized incompetence in action through when Trump gets rid of redundant civil rights bills, DEI bills. We're seeing weaponized incompetence. Oh, he got rid of this. He must hate black people. So let's end all this for black people. Somebody at the top of another part of an organization is the one doing that. Trump didn't say, I'm writing an executive order to get rid of Harriet Tubman. He never said any of these things.
No.
So you're being intellectually dishonest.
Okay, so you just called him out for not being an intellectual, but you want to disavow what the Trump administration has done because someone at the top of another organization signed it. Any organization, any person at the top signed it. So we got to disavow that it happened. But he's not the intellectual. That's what just happened. Somebody.
It's called an administration.
No,
so
that's
hold
a lie.
on, let me go back.
Let's hear from
Because she
Eugene
said
really
I'm
quick, and
not
then you,
an
Mr.
intellect-
Williams, next.
As the only sensible black person sitting up here, like on TV, let's let them decide who has the intellect and who doesn't as we sit here and speak policy. Now, secondly, you talk about actions, going back to Harriet Tubman. You know, Harriet Tubman did have a little tool that she used to carry. All I would say is, like, I'm so glad we all free, because all of us wouldn't have made it if we was walking with Harriet right now. Because all of us would not have made it. Because Harriet was very strict, because we all know all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
He got that right. He got that right on both accounts, as far as I'm concerned. And quite frankly, I must say, he said that I'm glad that we all free. Is that what you call it? Is that what you call what I just heard, brother? And yes, they are great. He knew this was going to look the way it looks. And he was correct in that assertion. I got your back. And I can't imagine how many people watch this and just were devastated they couldn't jump through the screen. This was a hate watch. I need to put a trigger warning on this one. I might need to put a trigger warning on this one. United Conservatives of America. They gonna see me again. I can tell you that. They gonna see me. No, they not gonna get away with that. And I don't mean just how they dressed showing up to the studio. No, that was bad too. Hey, I would like to cordially invite you to my premiere. Did you know I premiere all of my videos? I have them every day, and I'm in the chat going back and forth with you guys live. So be on the lookout for notifications. And every day when we're in the premiere, I hear the same thing. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't get the notifications, which is something that I'm looking into, by the way.
What are you prepared to do about it? Don't let no one come into your house. Take your meal. Do what you need to do today.
Another way that you can help ensure you get those notifications is to subscribe to the channel. And also that helps amplify and boost our signal to make sure everybody is getting the message on all the good stuff that we got going on. Message. And of course, if you're interested in early access to the videos, the deep archive, the backstage, the extras, there is a link to membership in the description box to all of the videos. And if you like me, cheap is life. I remember my parents used to buy me shoes that were 3 sizes too big so I could grow into them. Well, the discount for the first month of the Patreon is running out, so make sure you take advantage of that at patreon.com/Reese Waters. And all of you existing members, there's a code for you guys to try it for free for the first couple of months on me. Now, I want you to take a listen to something.
Turn me up a little bit, or just a little bit more. I got a message that I want to send across the world. Listen, baby.
Now that was sent in to us by Thomas Young, or as his friends call him, Preach.
Yeah, Ricky Fontaine. Pretty Ricky, what they call him.
For use on my Way of Waters channel. Well, I'm looking for the exact same thing on this channel. So if you are a musician or you know one and you got a cut of music that you wouldn't mind going hand in hand with some really good jokes and social justice commentary, go ahead and send it my way at admin@reesewaters.com. And now end, as I always do, with eternal gratitude for helping us get to this point.